Future-proofing your units might be important, but let's not forget about Psycubes. Welcome back to Corky Gachas, and in this video, I'm going to share with you guys my updated Psycube guide. It's been some time since I did the one at global launch, whereby people are getting the new Psycubes, but this time around, I'm going to touch on not just the existing Psycubes, but also the future Psycubes, and this time I'm going to tackle it from 3 different angles. First, we're going to talk about what Psycubes you should pick. Secondly, we're going to talk about what are the optimal points you should stop leveling your Psycubes. And thirdly, we are going to talk about which Psycubes are great for amplification, because of course amplification and investments are slightly different concepts, so I want to touch on that in this video. So firstly, when it comes to picking Psycubes, there are 2 things that I value a lot, and that is the flexibility as well as the strength of the Psycube. A extremely flexible Psycube is going to be great because you're going to be able to use it across multiple teams. Note here, it's across multiple teams. If you have 2 units that can utilize one Psycube on the same team, effectively it is not flexible. So across different teams it's flexible, but at the same time, if it's flexible but it is useless, then we don't want it as well. I'm also going to mention which one are the baits that I feel are in this Psycube roster. Now, combining both flexibility as well as strength, here are my recommendations. The first one on the list is going to be Brave New World, an extremely flexible Psycube as well as also pretty strong. When you think about it, you can slap this on any of the DPS units, making it extremely flexible, and also the Ultimate Might as well as the Incantation Might are pretty rare stats, right, when it comes to damage formulas. So it is going to have a significant portion, although it is not BIS on a lot of units, but it is barely lacking the BIS status when you compare to other of the Psycubes for certain units. So next we're going to talk about is going to be Luxurious Leisure, and for Luxurious Leisure it is quite straightforward. Luxurious Leisure is BIS on all units that uses single target ultimate. Notable units include Melania, Pickles as well as Beacon. If you're able to flex your way through 2 teams with these units, you pretty much always want Luxurious Leisure. Even if you only have Melania, I still think that it is that good because it is a BIS Psycube, and in the future you're definitely going to have more single target ultimate users, and I don't think this is the most restrictive Psycube when it comes to that. Hence, Luxurious Leisure top of the list. Also quite notable because of its high attack stats, 380. Even if you were to just use and invest it as a stat stick, it is pretty much worth it. So Luxurious Leisure top of the list. Next we're going to talk about is Hopscotch. Now for Hopscotch, the flexibility end is more reliant on the type of content that you are using it for. If you're unable to activate the stacks, meaning there are no multiple enemies for you to kill, it is not going to be good for you. But technically you can use it on a lot of hyper carries, since the hyper carry is going to be the one that is killing off enemies. But most notable is going to be units such as A Knight, whereby you really rely on killing off units to regain Muxi, and also Eternity as well as Centurion are also good choices when it comes to Hopscotch. Honestly, a lot of units can use it, but the restriction comes in the fact that not all of the stages that you're going to challenge will have multiple floors or enemies. Now moving on, I'm going to talk about a couple recommendations that I think are equal to each other in terms of flexibility or strength, or a balance of both. The first one is going to be Bowden Duty. So for Bowden Duty, I would say it's leaning more towards the flexible end, and also its high attack stat at max 410 is very significant. So it's definitely good for a lot of DPS, and the fact that you pretty much just want to ignore the effect. I don't think the effect is at all significant or useful, but still quite usable due to its flexibility and relatively short. The next one is going to be Blasphemer of Night. So Blasphemer of Night is super strong. In fact, it is the strongest among all of the 6-star Psycubes given its effect. But its restriction is that it can only be reliably triggered by upcoming Changling as well as in the future 6. So in the future it might become a bit more flexible, but for now it's quite hard to reliably have 100% uptime to ensure that its DPS increase will outpace other of the Psycubes. Hence, I would consider it equal to Bowden Duty as well. And the next 2 is going to be special mentions of future Psycubes, which is Balance Please as well as Silent Adoring. Silent Adoring is pretty much BIS for 37 as well as New Babel, but it's not as good because only these 2 units can use it, and they pretty much want to be on the same team. They're competing against each other, so flexibility and not that good. Strength and BIS for these units. Balance Please as well, I think it only functions 1 unit right now, and that is A Knight. And you might say that this Psycube can be used for multiple units, but the truth is, unless you're a beginner, you do want to have Afflictus bonuses to do additional damage in your team composition. hence it's not going to be as relevant compared to other Psycubes. And next, I'm going to move to my personal baits. One of these is quite universal, the other one is subjective, and the first one I'm going to talk on is Second Life. So a lot of people consider Second Life quite useful, but personally, after reviewing the effect, I don't think it's that good, restrictive towards mass ultimate users, and also for that healing effect is so mediocre, you're not going to want to gluttony as well. Hence, you're looking at like just level 1, it's not going to be that useful, and also only 350 attack stat, albeit there is an attack bonus, but I still don't think that it compensates or compete with other Psycubes because its advantage is going to be the high HP, which I don't think is that relevant, especially in the current meta. And the next one is going to be the universal bait Psycube, Thunderous Applause. The problem with Thunderous Applause isn't that it is not good for anyone, it is good for Leah, but the problem also is Leah is quite weak due to the release or potential release of 2 Fairy, whereby pretty much even Leah wants not to use Thunderous Applause. Leah wants to go to Luxurious Leisure instead. You don't really want to invest in this at all, much less mention gluttonying it. So definitely bottom of the list, definite bait. Now this one I also like to give a special mention to 5-star Psycube Yearning Desire. This is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, when you compare against other 6-star Psycubes at Amplification 1, and also it has relatively easy triggering criteria, which is stats down or negative status, doing 16% at max, and doesn't compete with the 6-star Psycubes when it comes to buying currency. Takes you 44 days from launch to actually max it out, so definitely will recommend it. You can also see I'm maxing it out currently ahead of other 6-star Psycubes, so definitely a great one to invest in. Now when it comes to healing Psycubes, there is only one choice, and that is Inquisitive Deal, and this is because it beats out all Psycubes for healing, not to mention the upcoming Beyond Wonderland, which is a piece of shit that doesn't compare to Inquisitive Deal, especially since Inquisitive Deal at max already gave a flat 18%, while Beyond Wonderland have to ramp up to 12%, and also the crit is not that significant. If you're not convinced, you think that 2 Fairy, especially that comes with 1.2 and the Psycube, is going to be good, then you have to check out this thing that you can see on the screen. This is a comparison done by NGA user on 2 Fairy, and the HPM, which is healing per move, is much lower even at max amplification Beyond Wonderland, which you definitely do not want to waste your gluttony on. So definitely no questions for now, you definitely only want ID, you don't want the Beyond Wonderland at all. Now moving on, I'm going to briefly touch on the EXP requirements for Psycubes and where is a good stopping point. However, I don't think that this should be the emphasis that much. You can definitely overlevel, since in my opinion the Enlightened income is quite high. I have already documented it, at least 300k EXP just from the events, as well as you farming the Pneuma Analysis stages 7. So I don't think it's going to be a big deal, but as you can see, from level 1 to level 50 it's going to take you 200k, and from 50 to 60, Ravenous have already provided the stats for level 50 to 60 in another of its spreadsheets, so that is almost 200k. So total up, you can see, right, 1 to 50 takes as much as going to 50 to 60. So I definitely think that going to level 50 is going to be a great stopping point. So first you can go to level 40 to clear out the quest. You have this quest in game, but more importantly I want to talk about the limit breaking of the Psycube. So you're going to use your polarization to limit break, and even if you were to stop at level 50, I would suggest for you to limit break the last level as well, even though you don't want to level to 60 for now. And that is because it gives you the additional percentage of the Psycube bonus stat, which is in this case Brave New World. You're going to see Ultimate Might is going to raise from 16% to 18%, even though you are at level 50, you don't go to level 60. So this is based on the limit breaking, it's not based on the level itself. So I recommend going for that last limit break but staying at level 50 if you really want to be efficient. Otherwise you can just go to level 60, it's totally fine. I don't think it is that big of a deal. Now lastly, when it comes to amplifying your Psycubes, it is quite an important decision, since gluttony isn't that easy to come by, especially you are free to play. Even if you have a battle pass, you are only going to get 1 extra per month, which means it takes you 2 full months as a battle pass user to max out one of the Psycubes, and for non-battle pass users 4 months. Now, of course, when we are looking at the amplification order, we are not just only looking at the effect itself, but also have to take into account the usability of the Psycube, since amplification would mean that this Psycube would preferably be used on more than 1 unit. And taking into account all that, I'm going to recommend a couple Psycubes. First one is going to be Luxurious Leisure, and for Luxurious Leisure, I think at max amplification, the almost 2-time difference, right, 12% extra when 15% base, right, it's going to be quite significant. And also, since it's not the most unusable Psycube, I think it's used quite widely on the single target DPS units, Hence, I would definitely recommend going for that, especially if you are going for boss rates in 1.4, right? Just nice, it will align up. By the time you should have a maxed out luxurious Dija that you can use not just on Melania, not just on Pickles, also you can use it on Black Dwarf and also Beacon. So Black Dwarf is also one of the targets that you want to go for when it comes to boss rates. So this is my recommendation. Second one and third one is roughly the same, Hopscotch as well as Brave New World. I would say that Hopscotch kind of wins out a bit more if you are looking at just specific scenarios whereby you really want it to excel in. Hopscotch, the bonuses is much higher compared to Brave New World. However, there are less users for it, right, from a flexibility, and so this two is really up to you. And the next one I'm going to recommend is going to be for Blasphemer of Night, and the reason why I'm recommending Blasphemer of Night is because its amplification effect increases is the best out of all of the Psycubes, so 12% to 24% straight up double. But given its restrictions in only functioning one team, I wouldn't say it's the most recommended, so definitely make your own choice whether you want to go all in on a poison team. You can probably go for Blasphemer of Night amplification, and the rest of Psycubes I don't recommend gluttonying until they super late game. And also, if you are thinking of saving for future Psycubes like Balance Please as well as Silent Adoring, you could, but also remember that those Psycubes do not have the best flexibility when it comes to using in multiple units, hence you definitely want to choose wisely. I would also go for BOTN over those because BOTN can function with the appearance of 6 in 1.4, unlike these other two new Psycubes, Balance Please as well as Silent Adoring. Now, of course, while Psycubes are important in future planning, I also think that one important fact is your unit planning. So definitely check out this tier list with a reference for you on what people think in 1.4 CN server. I'll see you guys over there. This is Corky Gachas, signing off.